The first time that I went to AMSOIL years ago, it wasn't quite as impressive. We had it was bigger than the original basement that they loaded oil in 1 quart at a time on a handheld machine, but it still was an older building that had been expanded at least 3 or 4 times to about 190,000 square feet in the original building. And now they've got 475,000 square feet. And they used to have 2 loading lines, of which it took 32 hours of time to convert one and clean the system to load another product. So obviously their shifting and loading products was a timely process. Now they have 50 separate tanks that can be lined up to the loading process. It takes less than 2 hours to do a shift to any product. And they don't have to mix it, because before they only had so many mixing tanks. I think they had 4, and they would have to mix it in those tanks, and then when they'd mix something new, they would have to purge that tank and then have it totally cleaned out to do another one. Now they have 50 tanks internal to the building that can be stored with up to, I think it's 50,000 gallons apiece, and each one of those can be lined up in less than 2 hours, and their production time is, I believe he told me, 25 times as fast the production line, as the original line they had. So he was asked a question, Scott Davis was, about when they would have to expand the plant, and his answer was build another plant, and his answer was, well, you've got me working 5 shifts out of a possible 21 right now, and we're well ahead of production. So meaning that they're working 5 days a week, an 8-hour shift, and the plant is producing enough to keep everybody in oil. So we're going to have to sell a whole lot more oil just to get them to go to 7 days a week, and then a whole lot more oil just to get them to put on another shift. Now that old building that they had has been converted. When you see it now, it's all green, Tony. It's the new Aggrand production facility, because the organic fertilizer demand has grown so fast, so quick, that AMSOIL has had to take that original 190,000 square feet and large mixing tanks in order to increase their production of Aggrand to keep up with the demand. And part of this, for this university, they had excellent information and training on Aggrand fertilizer. They're trying to encourage all of us to sell more of it because it's a profitable product, and it appears to be a timely product for the current cost of chemical-based fertilizers. So that was interesting stuff. I don't sell a lot of Aggrand. I wouldn't mind selling a lot of Aggrand. Some of the guys in the farming belt are starting to sell a lot of Aggrand because it's an organic product, certified organic, and you can grow certified organic vegetables and fruit with it, and those are becoming much more lucrative in the farming market. So while we were divided into different sections, we did have some common places, and as John said, we had this section on diesels, and that was an interesting part because AMSOIL recognizes that the diesel market, especially in the fleet diesel market, is going to be a significant part of their future. And so they put on a very good presentation. This young lady named Molly Brown, she's quite impressive with technical knowledge and her presentation skills, so she was one of the main presenters. And they had fleet representatives there, the owners of the trucking company that brings AMSOIL down. I forget their name. You remember the name, Judy? Jeff Foster Trucking. And then they had another group there, which was, they've got a big brochure on the waste management company that hauls off the waste and stuff. That guy was there. And so they took questions on, how does AMSOIL, how's it working out in your fleet? What are your problems? Why should someone else in another fleet want to run AMSOIL? And these guys are pretty straightforward. They live in a very cold climate. So for us, we heard a couple of things that aren't quite as useful for selling things, of the fact that their diesels would barely run in January. And sometimes they were afraid that if they didn't leave them running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that they might not be able to get one running. So bringing the synthetic oil in allows them to start them up almost without fail, well below zero. They have very little concern about the engine turning over. See, the problem with the diesel, it's got to reach about 100 RPM to effectively start. Diesels will not really start if you get them up to 60 RPM. It just won't do it. You got to get at least 100 RPM on the starter. Well, if the oil is thick and drag, it's hard to have enough battery and enough starter to get one of those things up to 100 RPM. So the lightweight synthetic oil allows that diesel to be spun up and to be started. And then, of course, you've got fuel additives, and they talked about those and the benefits of those. So the diesel presentation was good because they went to different pieces of equipment. You could see it. They had their camera tucked in there. And this stuff is supposed to be coming to us. It will be coming to the participants, and we're allowed to reuse it. So as soon as we get that kind of stuff, we'll put it on my website. It'll be available for you to go look at it. Okay, it's going to be in some kind of DVD format. And if we can get extra DVDs from them that we can use it, then we'll make those available to anybody in the group that we can make them available to. For those that should have almost everything from the university coming in a presentation format. It's these things that they put up that for the people that attended, when you go on board and you go into training, it'll have a section for university information, and it'll come up and it'll have these things, and we're supposed to take that stuff and use it in training, so we'll use it to the very best that we can. In the presentations that we had, there were it's hard for me, having been there a number of times, to give you some new nugget of information. They had a little silly thing they did where they did some personality things. And I don't care much for those things, but the one thing that it did bring out, and that I think is worth repeating, is that you kind of have to take a cut on not yourself so much, but the person you're dealing with when you go to try to sign up an account or a new dealer. Because there are different personalities, and of course they had it where you did the analysis thing, and you had the colors and all this kind of silliness. But what it really comes down to is there are people that are extremely analytical, and there are people that are just the opposite, who aren't analytical at all. They call those people that were real analytical, they call those people greens, and they call the people that were not analytical at all as red, because the reds, they just leap to conclusions and go. And they don't want to be slowed down with the facts. They're ready to roll. Okay? And then they had people that were emotional, and then I forget the other one, I have to find it. But anyway, here's the thing that I'm getting at. When you deal with accounts or customers, the key thing to their presentation there was you got to realize that everybody's not the same. If you go into a business or you're dealing with a downline dealer, you should be able to, in your own mind, draw a few conclusions about whether the guy you're dealing with is a guy who really just, the technical stuff is what trips his trigger, okay, or not. It could be that the guy is really a business-minded person, really likes the business part. Whatever it is, the key is that we need to be aware of that stuff, because we could be sitting there pounding our head, producing, somebody in a way that they're not even interested, producing their eyes gloss back. Or we could be saying, yeah, okay, look, it's a good product, you got to go forward, you got to sell this product, you got to do this is how you do it. The guy's going, I'm not convinced it's even a good product yet. How's it work? What's the technical aspect? So you have to be able to shift gears and talk to either businesses or to downline dealers so that they know, kind of what they're looking for. In other words, it's not that they won't listen to you, but it's not going to be that successful. Sometimes you go into an account, and the account, you got to understand, your customer's the account, not his customers. So it doesn't do a lot of good to try to convince the account sometimes of all the technical aspects, unless he's asking, then you want to tell him. But the real truth is he might be more interested in, if this is a good product, how does it make me money?